Everybody, this is Sam over at the Foot Whisperer Reflexology Institute, here today with another reflexology technique video. We're getting to the end of our foot reflexology technique videos, but this is probably the most intricate of the techniques thus far. Digestive reflexes were tough, but here we're going to be walking around the ankle complex, and there are some very minute cracks and crevices that we need to sneak into. So let's talk about how we do that and what those areas of the feet represent around the ankle. Alrighty everybody, so first and foremost what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to walk the ankle complex, and we've got some pictures here to demonstrate. You'll see in the video after this kind of written or visual demonstration that we'll first gloss the entire area with cream just to make sure that, since the heels tend to be kind of dry, that they're really nice and soft, but also that we have some nice glide to our working surface. After that, first thing that we need to do is delineate our zones just like we've done in previous videos. So the delineation between horizontal zone 4 and 5 occurs posterior to the malleoli. This is kind of a curved version of a foot, but you can really see the difference here from that standpoint, and then we'll also draw from the waistline guideline. So the waistline guideline happens at the proximal head of the fifth metatarsal, which gives us the delineation between horizontal zone 3 and 4, and then posterior to the medial and lateral malleoli, we have the delineation or the pelvic guideline, which happens right at the start of the heel in order to separate those two zones. So everything in the hip pelvic area, and then everything leg low body. We'll talk about some specifics when we get to the next video on the cuboid notch, but that's all you need to know for now. And what you'll see for the first part of the technique is what we're going to do is we are going to walk up the sacral reflexes, the sacral coccyx reflexes 3 times. And basically where that is the start of the Achilles tendon all the way up to the pelvic guideline. And we're just going to do that 3 times. And that's it. It's just a very small surface. If we think of the spine as starting head and neck, then going through the thoracic vertebra, and then once we hit that waistline guideline, we hit the lumbar reflex territory of that spine, and then we get into sacral coccyx. And that's really what this medial side of the heel represents, is that deep, 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 deep low back area. So 3 times there. Then, ooh, new picture, yay! We are going to, first and foremost, draw our guidelines one more time for reference so that y'all are keeping on. Boom. And then really past that point, I don't really focus on anything because that's technically outside of the extremity. And then proximal head of the fifth metatarsal, there is our waistline guideline. Just in case you don't know, reflexes are through and through, so the reflexes translate top and bottom, same thing. But anyway, so we walked the medial surface, and now we're going to walk this lateral surface. And this lateral surface, same thing, from the Achilles tendon attachment to what you're going to feel is the posterior surface of the cuboid notch, or you're going to start to get into a forest of ligaments right through here, and that's going to tell you to stop. But basically, we want to go up this area 3 times. Technically, the foot will be facing this way, and you'll see it like that in the video, but we'll do it 3 times like that. I also have 2 views to make sure that we really get into that, because here's where we get complicated, is we need to walk this surface of the ankle, this literal ankle joint, which is the posterior surface of the lateral malleoli. We are going to be walking this crescent. It is a crescent. It feels like a little ditch, like a little moon-shaped ditch, but basically it is behind the bone. If you wanted to think of it from anatomical terms, this is the posterior surface, this is the inferior surface, and this is the anterior surface. So behind the bone, underneath the bone, and in front of the bone. There is a ligament right here that is nasty. It's very, very thick. You don't want to touch that. So what we're going to do is we're only going to walk this little crescent moon shape. Maybe 3-4 presses max. 3-4 finger widths max you'll fit behind here. But basically what we're going to do is we are going to combine a push back and roll out technique. So kind of like an ankle rotation going outward with a 3-time walk of this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to engage that posterior surface, plant pressure and then rotate. Then shift our pressure, and then rotate again. And then shift our pressure, and then rotate again. And then shift our pressure and rotate again, if you can, depending on the size of the notch. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to stay in this nice little crescent shape, but we're going to hold and then rotate over that hold. Move down, hold, rotate over the hold. Hold, move down, rotate over the hold, etc. Until we walk that a total of 3 times. Imagine that, another 3 times. That is how we are going to walk this posterior surface of the lateral malleoli. This represents the deep core joint of the hips. Very, very important from a reflex standpoint. Then, after that, we are going to address the dorsal aspect of the ankle, all those reproductive reflexes. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a dorsal ankle pump just in this groin area, which is the groin reflexes of the feet. And we're going to use a nice vigorous pumping motion to really pump from that lateral all the way to our medial groin reflexes. And we're going to do that a total of 3 times. Imagine that. Yes? Okay, so just to recap, we're going to be walking the medial surface of the calcaneus 3 times, shifting to the lateral surface of the calcaneus 3 times, walking this posterior surface of the lateral malleoli, and then going into our dorsal ankle or groin pump for that last section of how to walk the ankle. This is the technique series that I would personally recommend for anybody suffering from plantar fasciitis or body workers who work extensively with that symptom. This is how we open up those nerves and really circulate and readjust any tissues that are out of alignment from that standpoint. But enough about that. We have 2 versions of the technique to show you from 2 different camera angles, and let's get to that. First, we'll start with a nice gloss of cream, and we'll be doing about a 10-second effleurage on the Achilles tendon to warm up the tendon and also to coat the reflexes we're about to walk. We'll be ending with the outside hand on the sacral reflexes, which are from that attachment all the way to the pelvic guideline, and then using our fingers to walk that surface 3 times. You can place your inside hand on the arch for leverage. And then we'll be switching hands and doing the same thing on the lateral surface of the calcaneus. We have another camera angle coming up after this, so you'll be able to see that in greater detail. But just the big view. Then we'll be using the ball of the foot to direct our ankle rotation as we walk the posterior surface of the lateral malleoli 3 times. Again, you'll be able to see that better on the next view. But really notice how we're pushing the foot back to get that leverage. Switching for our dorsal ankle pump, using the thumbs to press the foot back and the fingers to press into the dorsal ankle reflexes. We're walking in an alternating fashion from the lateral malleoli to the medial malleoli 3 times. Here's the other view. Starting with cream, we're going to do that same gloss of the Achilles tendon for about 10 seconds. We'll be ending on that outside hand with the fingers on those reflexes. Again, you can't see, so switch back to the first view if you want that repeated. But again, just walking 3 times, nice and easy. Switching. And you can see here clearly, I moved my hand out of the way just to make sure that you can. Really walking those lateral reflexes on the calcaneus. Nice and easy, lifting the foot slightly but not too high for leverage. Then sliding behind the posterior surface of the lateral malleoli, accessing the ball of the foot for the rotation. And you can really see here how we're pressing and rotating, then resetting, pressing and rotating, pressing and rotating. Doing that a full series of 3 times. Repositioning the hands for the dorsal ankle pump. You can see my fingers really getting into the dorsal ankle, into those groin reflexes, and we're using our thumbs to press the foot back to really get that pump going. And those are the 3 ways that we open up the ankle. Great job, everybody.